Room 405 file. The file of Room 405. I'm a final-year nursing intern stationed at Vinson General Hospital, a place where everything feels just slightly off. Not enough to make you run, but enough to make you hold your breath for a second every time you step into the fourth-floor hallway, where the smell of bleach never fades. And the flickering fluorescent lights always seem uncertain, like they're trying to make up their minds. On my very first day, the head nurse warned me, "If you're working the night shift, don't go near room 405. It's just an old supply room now, been out of use for years." I asked, "If it's storage, why is there still an active patient log tied to it?" She gave me a look like I had just mentioned something I wasn't supposed to know. "Paperwork that hasn't been cleared. Just forget it. Stay away." But humans are curious, especially when told not to be. That night, I was assigned the ward alone. At around midnight, the digital monitor system pinged with a new entry. Nguyen Thien Lam, room 405. I checked the physical records. No such patient existed, but the system was showing vitals, heart rate, blood pressure, even scheduled temperature checks every 2 hours. I thought it was a software glitch. Then, at 1:12, the monitor for room 405 lit up again, heart rate steady at 68, blood pressure normal. I froze. There was no equipment in that room, no monitor, no power supply, just an empty shell. Still, I had to check. I took the elevator up to the 4th floor. The door to room 405 was ajar, the light inside flickering. I stepped in. The room was supposed to be used for storage, but inside it was completely bare. No shelves, no boxes, no old equipment. Just a single bed bolted to the floor in the center with nothing on it. No sheets, no mattress, just the steel frame. The walls were a dull green, peeling in long strips, and the only window had been bricked over from the outside. There was no light switch that I could see, yet the flickering fluorescent tube above blinked as if powered by something deep inside the walls. And then I heard it. A soft exhale. Not mine. It came from the bed, or maybe under it. I took a step back. My ID card buzzed. It was an alert from the nursing station system. I glanced down. Patient Nguyen Thien Lam, temp drop detected. Current temp, 27.1 degrees Celsius, severe. What patient? I looked around again. There was no one. I walked over to the bed, leaned down slowly, and peeked underneath. Nothing. But the second I stood up, my badge, clipped to my chest, beeped again. I didn't touch it. A new notification flashed across the screen. "You saw her. Now she'll stay." I ran. I don't remember how I got back to the nurse's station, only that I locked the door and sat under the desk for nearly 20 minutes, trembling. When I finally calmed down enough to look back at the monitor board, the data for room 405 had vanished, completely wiped. No patient, no vitals, no logs. I tried to report it the next morning, just the system glitch, not what I saw, but the head nurse just smiled tiredly and said, "It happens. Sometimes the system picks up echoes." Echoes? Yes. Of patients that passed. They linger sometimes. You're new. You'll get used to it. But I didn't get used to it, because 2 nights later, I heard footsteps outside the break room, and then a whisper under the door. I'm cold. I froze. The voice wasn't loud, but it was clear. A whisper, yes, but spoken directly at the base of the door, as if the speaker was crouched just outside. I'm cold. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The light in the break room flickered once, twice, then went steady. 5 minutes passed. 10. I finally stood up and opened the door. Nothing. Just the long, empty corridor of the east wing. The linoleum floor glistened slightly under the pale lights, and the security camera at the far end of the hallway turned silently, as if it had seen something and didn't want to tell me. I told myself it was sleep deprivation, stress, imagination. But that night, when I got home and removed my scrubs, I noticed something scratched into the fabric just above my chest pocket. Something that hadn't been there before. 27.1 drills. The next shift, I checked the patient log again. Nothing under room 405. No history of a patient named Nguyen Thien Lam. I asked a friend in admin to dig through the archived medical records. She hesitated, but eventually agreed to help. 2 days later, she sent me a message with just one line. "Don't ask me about this again." Attached was a grainy scanned document from 2006. Patient, Nguyen Thien Lam, age 17, admitted June 10, status deceased. Time of death, 1:12 a.m. Room 405, cause of death, Hypothermia. It made no sense. Hypothermia? Hypothermia? In June? In Vietnam? In a hospital? I scrolled to the bottom of the form. In the attending nurse's note, someone had scribbled in shaky handwriting. She wouldn't stop saying it. I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold. We raised the heat, we gave her blankets, we wrapped her in warm packs. Her body temperature kept dropping. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing the phrase in my head, I'm cold. At exactly 1:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. No message, no call, just a single notification from the hospital monitor system. Room 405, patient alert, body temp 26.9 degrees Celsius. I wasn't on shift. I wasn't even logged in. The next night, I went back. I had to know. I told the security guard I left something in the break room and slipped upstairs alone. The fourth floor was even darker than I remembered. The hallway to room 405 was darker still. The light above the door had gone out. I stepped inside with a flashlight. The room looked the same, empty bed frame, peeling paint, bricked window. But the floor was wet, like something had been melting. At the foot of the bed lay a blanket, soaked and dark. I stepped closer. It wasn't water. It was thick, cold, smelled faintly metallic. I knelt to examine it. That's when I heard it again. I'm cold. This time, the voice wasn't outside. It was behind me. I turned. She was standing in the far corner. Her hospital gown hung limp, wet, clinging to her skin like paper. Her long black hair was plastered to her face and shoulders. Her eyes, wide sunken, were fixed on me. Her lips were purple. Her skin was the color of ash. Please, she said again. I'm cold. I backed toward the door. She stepped forward. Her bare feet left no sound. The air dropped 10 degrees in seconds. My breath fogged. She reached out her hand, bluish-white, trembling. And then I blinked, and she was gone. The room was empty again. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't return to the fourth floor. But every night since then, at 1:12 a.m., my phone buzzes. Room 405, Nguyen Thien Lam, temp falling. Current, 26.3 degree. It's going lower, and I think when it reaches zero, she won't just be cold. She'll be here. I tried to ignore the messages. I turned off my phone, deleted the app, blocked hospital alerts, but the notifications kept coming, not just at 1:12 a.m. anymore. Now they appeared at random times. On my laptop, on my smart TV. Even my digital watch lit up once, glowing red with one phrase, temp 25.7 degrees Celsius. I started seeing her outside the hospital, reflections in shop windows, on the train, across the aisle, in puddles, never moving, just watching, always soaking wet, always cold. I decided to go back one last time, to end it, or at least to understand it. I brought a thermal blanket, a candle, and a voice recorder. I waited until 1 a.m., then crept up to the fourth floor into room 405. The temperature inside was unbearable, like I'd walked into a freezer. My breath clouded in front of me, and frost had formed on the metal bed frame. I placed the blanket on the bed, lit the candle, and sat down beside it. Thien Lam, I whispered. Why are you still here? Silence. Then the lights dimmed, and she appeared, slowly, like a shape forming behind a veil of fog. She stood by the bed, no longer terrifying, just tired, shivering. Her lips moved slowly. I waited for someone. Who? She didn't answer. She reached out, touched the blanket, then sat beside me. I couldn't move. The air around her was so cold I could feel ice forming on my lashes. She looked at the candle. Her eyes softened. Warm? She whispered. Just for a while. Then she lay back, closed her eyes, and vanished. The candle flickered out. I sat in the dark, and the room began to warm. The next morning, I returned to the admin terminal. Room 405 was no longer listed. No patient, no vitals, nothing. Just one message left in the log history, in a line of corrupted data that shouldn't have existed. Nguyen Lam discharged, temp stabilized, 37 point bleak thank you. I quit the hospital a month later. I don't get the messages anymore. I don't see her. But sometimes, late at night, I still check my watch at exactly 1:12 a.m. just to make sure. It always reads the same now. Warm, alive.